Good evening. Welcome to another Classic Comics live stream where I'll take a look at some of the interesting headlines from the past week. All right. Kind of a kind of a slow week, but there's a few pretty good ones here. So let me just get started. This is probably one of the most notable ones here. George Lucas might be returning to Star Wars. Maybe. This is from Looper.com. So in 2012, George Lucas elected to do the unthinkable. In a massive $4 billion deal, he sold Lucasfilm and the Star Wars franchise to the Walt Disney Company, officially handing off his brainchild to a new set of creatives. In the years since, fans of the galaxy far, far away have seen plenty of new shows, video games, and movies come to fruition, with the likes of Jon Favreau, Deborah Chow, and Lucas's protege, the recently promoted Dave Filoni, in charge. Rumor has it, however, that Lucas, Forbes' richest celebrity of 2024, is set to return to Star Wars. But is this really the case? Word of Lucas's supposed return stems from an interview conducted by Star Wars Theory, the YouTuber, on YouTube with the set decorator of 1977's Star Wars film, Roger Christian. Quote, I think he's coming back. I'm pretty sure now that he's doing a series. I think that they're bringing him into the fold, unquote, Christian claimed. He explained that this was just a suspicion on his end and that he could be prophesying. So, with Christian's clarification in mind, if you're hoping to see Lucas return to Star Wars and tell new stories, it's for the best that you keep your expectations in check. While it's not impossible that Christian's theory comes to pass, it doesn't seem likely that Lucas will add to the Star Wars narrative ever again for multiple reasons. There are a couple of major signs that Lucas won't return to the Star Wars franchise in the future. First and foremost is the fact that the last time he brought Star Wars movies to theaters, fan and critic reception was absolutely atrocious. The prequel trilogy was torn apart from all directions, with Lucas and his crew of actors being bombarded by vitriol from even the biggest Star Wars fans. Why would anyone, much less someone who had to establish themselves in pop culture and made plenty of money to live comfortably, want to go back to that? Additionally, Lucas had his personal life in mind when he chose to let Star Wars go. Quote, in 2012, I was 69. So the I, I almost started to sing a song there for a second. So the question was, am I going to keep doing this for the rest of my life? Do I want to go through this again? Finally, I decided I'd rather raise my daughter and enjoy life for a while, unquote. Lucas said in the book, The Star Wars Archives, 1999 to 2005. In 2012 and beyond, Lucas has only served as an executive producer on such film projects as Red Tails, Strange Magic, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. He has done the same for television efforts Double Victory, The Tuskegee Airmen at War, and Manifest Destiny. With all of this, and the fact he hasn't directed anything since 2005, the best of the prequel trilogy, Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, in mind, odds are Lucas isn't going to suddenly come out of retirement to lead an upcoming Star Wars production. As great as it would be for him to return, all signs point to his time with the franchise being over. Yeah, I kind of agree with this. I find it highly unlikely he's going to come back and do anymore. He just doesn't need this anymore. I think if he really wanted to, he wouldn't have sold Star Wars in the first place. Now, I don't know, some could argue that maybe Disney is just throwing a ton of money at him to coax him back or something like that. But I mean, he's so rich already. What could they offer him? So I find it highly unlikely. And as the article says, I mean, he took so much crap, when he did the prequel trilogy. And I mean, honestly, Star Wars fans didn't like a lot of that, at least certainly most fans of the original trilogy did, with the midichlorians and all that stuff, which a lot of fans didn't really care for. So I don't think it's happening. Okay. Let's go ahead and move along here. Okay, and this is from the Hollywood Reporter. And hello, Masters Maniac Mexico. Good to see you, sir. Hello, my friend. Sorry for being absent, but it was hospital time. Oh wow, I hope it wasn't too serious, sir. Don't worry about it. I I hope you're okay now, right? Not still having any real health problems. Okay. So this is from the Hollywood Reporter. Ncuti Gatwa says, while white mediocrity gets celebrated, black people must be flawless to get half that. Uh, okay, so Doctor, and I believe it's pronounced, I've heard it pronounced Ncuti Gatwa. I honestly don't know if that's entirely right, but that's why I'm going to say it. Doctor Who star Ncuti Gatwa is getting candid about his battle with acceptance. The actor, who has faced backlash for his role as the show's first black lead and first gay lead, too, pretty much, recently opened up in an interview with Attitude magazine about what he's learned over the years regarding what he deserves in life. We're trained to be like, I'm not exceptional. I won't be loved. Certainly, I think that was my thing, Godwa shared. So, yeah, I think I'm just learning now, like, oh, you are allowed to be loved. You don't have to be excellent or aspire to that term, like excellent. Like excellence. He continued, there's so much white mediocrity that gets celebrated, and black people, we have to be absolutely flawless to get half of that anyway. So I'm slowly training myself out of that and being like, no shit, you deserve love just for existing. And that has taught me to be a lot more loving as well in a weird way. Elsewhere in the interview, the Barbie actor said he doesn't understand how someone can be, quote, so angry over something so inconsequential regarding his casting as the Doctor. However, he noted that it's part of the shift he's seeing with diversity in the entertainment industry. Quote, we do see a shift happening in casting in positions of power and in the status quo, Gatwa explained. I mean, not a fast shift. Things could tip over the other way a little bit quicker, but you kind of see people kind of malfunctioning because things are changing. Ahead of his portrayal of the 15th Doctor on the UK series, has that not aired yet? I guess not. The sex education alum told The Hollywood Reporter in July 2023 that he was blocking out any scrutiny. The British press can be very mean, he said at the time. I just have to focus on the job and stay true to what the Doctor is, a mad scientist alien who has adventures and cares about everyone. Uh, oh, so Masters Maniac Mexico says, Uh, let me be very honest at this point. I don't care if Lucas comes back or moves to the Australian bush. I am done. I will rewatch the original once a year and celebrate the good old days. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of going to be the feeling of a lot of people. I think even if Lucas came back, I'm not sure it would really salvage things because, again, it's not this at this point, it isn't about any particular creator. It's just the system now. It's just the way Hollywood is doing things now. And bringing Lucas back isn't going to change that. Would it be better than what we're getting? Yeah, I think it probably would be. But I mean, isn't going to go back to what it was. I mean, he couldn't even do that with the prequel trilogy, which the prequel trilogy I was okay with. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I did think people were a little unnecessarily hostile, particularly with the first movie with little kid Anakin and with Jar Jar. I thought there was a little too much hate for them because I was like, look, he's making it for a new generation. He's not making it for us pre-existing fans, but people were really upset about that. And again, I mean, the whole midichlorian thing. Oh, hey, Adega. Hello, sir. Thank you for stopping by. Um, but it's just, and what would he even do? Now, the thing I've heard is that it would be a series, not a movie. And that's another thing to me that really kind of calls into question whether he'd be coming back. Lucas is a filmmaker. He's a movie director. I find it highly unlikely that he'd come back to do a streaming show. I think in his mind that would be like a bit of a step down. And again, he doesn't need this anymore. He doesn't need it. It's because I mean, I don't pretend to know from experience, but certainly it seems like being a director is certainly a demanding job. It takes a lot of hours, a lot of time on set. And again, at his age, which he's in like his 70s now, does he really want to do that? So I find it highly unlikely. And Masters Made at Mexico says, "What doctor? Spin doctor. Wag the dog." Yeah. Look, I understand. And again, getting back to people being hostile, I'm sure this guy is getting a lot of hostility for being cast as Doctor Who. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I don't particularly care for it myself. But, in these cases, I'm generally not going to be going after the person online, and bitching about it. I'm just going to kind of shrug my shoulders and move on, which is kind of what I've done with Doctor Who, particularly because I like Doctor Who, but it's not like I'm a huge fan of Doctor Who. So I think for me, it was a little easier to just kind of be like, oh, well, it was good while it lasted. But really, Doctor Who hasn't been good since I think the first season of Capaldi was pretty good. But those last couple of seasons with him, the show was already starting to really kind of go downhill, honestly, in my opinion. And it didn't get any better after that. Okay. Okay, here's another one. And this is from thedirect.com. So Deadpool 3 reveals first look at Hugh Jackman's new Wolverine mask. So we've all seen that Hugh Jackman, of course, is wearing the yellow and blue costume, or at least a version of it in this new Deadpool movie, which is cool. But he has not been seen in the mask, but apparently it looks like he will actually be wearing the mask in the film. MCU fans have their first official look at Hugh Jackman's comic accurate Wolverine mask from Marvel Studios' Deadpool 3, officially titled Deadpool and Wolverine. Jackman's surprising role as James Logan Wolverine is one of the, well, it's James Howlett, not James Logan, is one of the driving pieces of news surrounding Deadpool 3, especially considering he is now included in the threequel's official title. Along with the news teasing that his role in the film will be nearly as big as that of Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, fans are eager to see what he'll look like in this or in his first MCU project after 7 years away from the role. Wow, has it been 7 years since Logan already? Ugh, time flies. The movie podcast shared an image on X from CinemaCon 2024 highlighting the first look at Hugh Jackman's fully suited up Wolverine from Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine. The Deadpool 3 merchandise is a collectible theater soda cup featuring both Wade Wilson and James Logan in costume, including Logan wearing his comic accurate cowl. And we get a pretty good look at it here. And I've actually seen another image that's more from the front. That's for like I think a theater poster. I couldn't find that for this article though. But I mean, it's pretty good. They're pretty accurate here. So hopefully he'll wear it for more than just a few seconds. but I don't expect him to wear it much, even in movies like Spider-Man. I mean, how often, for how much of a Spider-Man movie does Spider-Man ever actually wear his mask? It's like it always gets torn so you can see his face or he takes it off. It never stays on for very long. The cup comes complete, or this comes complete with a set of bright white eyes and blue wings coming from the top of his head, embracing the suit fans know and love from X-Men the Animated Series and X-Men 97. Well, I would say it's because people know it from the comics, but yeah, okay, I guess they know it. A lot of folks know it from that too. Personally, I like the brown and tan costume better. Masters Maniac Mexico says, I have nothing against Gatwa. I don't even recognize him for nothing good or bad, but I will say if you sign up for such an iconic brand, you will get attention, also good and bad. Yeah. Well, that's just kind of the story with these franchises is they're recognizable brands and they have all this built-in audience, all this built-in name recognition. And so they keep, leaning on these IPs because they're valuable. And again, they have an established audience, but at the same time, they're pretty much hell bent on not doing what the established fan base wants or giving the established fan base what they want, but instead trying to retool it so that they can bring in new people while also hopefully retaining enough of the original people to make it profitable, I guess. And it's been a losing proposition, but they just keep doing it. Yeah, you pick up a huge check for it, so quit whining. Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I like the brown and tan costume better than the yellow and blue one. But hey, I mean, it looks pretty good, so no complaints. The first Deadpool 3 trailer from Super Bowl, was it 58, I think, did everything possible to keep Jackman's Wolverine hidden, only showing a split second of his classic costume and one shot from behind of his patch persona. While fans get a great look at behind the scenes footage of Jackman in action in summer 2023, Marvel wants his MCU debut to get the celebration it deserves after he spent so much time away from the role. Jackman previously teased his workout regimen for getting back into shape to play Wolverine, giving moviegoers plenty of reason to be excited for the hero's first official MCU credit. Marvel will most likely look to feature Jackman more heavily in Deadpool 3's second trailer as the studio puts forth its best effort on promotion for the only MCU movie being released in 2024. This cup will likely be far from the only merchandise featuring Jackman's Wolverine, with Reynolds already teasing something wild and unexpected from Deadpool 3's soon to be revealed popcorn bucket. Yeah, I do they have an image of the popcorn bucket? That was I don't know. I guess they don't have an image of it, but basically it's the popcorn bucket. It's like Deadpool's, his rear end, and you have to reach into his rear end to get the popcorn. Kind of like they're obviously copying that weird Dune sandworm popcorn bucket that was so creepy. And yeah, he's definitely in shape in the trailer. He's although it seems to me like he's not as big as he used to be, which is understandable because I mean, how old is Jackman now? He's like in his 50s, I think, well into his 50s at this point. He's very cut, but he's not quite as big as he used to be. But that's okay. I don't know that Wolverine has to be a huge guy. I don't think that necessarily has to be the case. Um, okay, let's go ahead and move on to this one next. All right. Craven the Hunter release date delayed again, and this is from Screen Rant, by the way. Now arriving after Venom 3. So, despite initially set to lead the charge for Sony's Spider Man universe in the summer, Craven the Hunter's release date has been delayed. The next installment in the SSU will explore the origins of its titular Spider Man villain as he discovers his ability to communicate with animals and use it to hunt down his criminal father for being left for dead during a hunt. Which is not Craven's story at all, but whatever. Aaron Taylor Johnson leads the Craven the Hunter cast alongside Russell Crowe, Ariana DeBose, Fred Hetchinger, Christopher Abbott, Alessandro Nivola, and Levi Miller. Sony Pictures has announced that Craven the Hunter's release date has been delayed. The latest installment in Sony's Spider-Man universe was originally set for an August 30th premiere, but will now hit theaters on December 13th, nearly a full 4 months after its prior date. This now puts the movie's release date after fellow SSU title Venom: The Last Dance, which is currently set for an October 25th release. The decision to delay the Craven the Hunter release comes amid a slew of changes in Sony's calendar, with the studio also delaying the next Karate Kid movie due to Cobra Kai Season 6's filming delay, with the SSU title taking its place. Additionally, the move comes as the studios reassessing their ultimate plans for their live-action Marvel franchise. With prior 2024 release Madam Web proving to be a complete critical misfire and underperforming at the box office, being viewed as the worst installment for it yet. Check out how the various SSU movies' performances compare below. This isn't going to be pretty, is it? So, long story short, the Venom movies have done well. Morbius and Madam Web, both disasters. Um, yeah. But in spite of delays typically holding a negative connotation for a movie, Craven the Hunters could actually prove beneficial for both it and Sony. Given the Venom movies continue to be the standout hits of the SSU, allowing the reportedly final installment in the Tom Hardy-led trilogy to release first could ensure that the franchise gets back on track at the box office. And even with critics, should the gradually rising reviews seen between the first two installments continue heading into The Last Dance. Wait, what a minute. Given the Venom movies continue to be the standout hits of the SSU, allowing the reportedly final installment in the Tom Hardy-led trilogy to release first could ensure that the franchise gets back on track at the box office. And even with critics, should the gradually rising reviews seen between the God, what are they even saying here? You need to proofread these things, folks. This renewed goodwill for the franchise would go a long way to drawing audiences to the theater for Craven the Hunter, while also allowing Sony to conduct more test screenings to ensure they're putting out the best quality project they can. However, with the movie also facing off against the holdover releases of Wicked and Moana 2, going up against the Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim in its opening weekend. Oh, that's coming out in December, huh? And followed by Sonic the Hedgehog 3 on December 20th. Even with positive buzz, the SSU movie will have some heated competition at the box office in its new date. So, I mean, personally, how I'm interpreting this, um, so Masters Maniac Mexico says, well, the trailer was promising, but I'm afraid they once more already shot all their bullets. You mean the trailer for Craven, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's okay. But this, I mean, he's a villain, first of all. And they're not even doing Craven from the comics. I mean, this is like a different version of Craven. So what is the draw here? You know? I mean, they're just kidding themselves if they think this is gonna do well. It's gonna be like Madam Web all over again. Dega Outlaw says AI generated article. Yeah, honestly, I would bet you that the AI generated articles are probably better written. If it's got bad grammar and stuff like that, then I just kind of assume it's probably a human who's doing it, who just didn't check, you know. But I could be wrong, maybe AI, but I think AI would probably do a better job of writing, honestly. But getting back to Craven. So, I mean, my take on this is that they showed this movie to test audiences, and surprise, surprise, it bombed. It didn't do well. And so now they're going to try and do some rewrites, reshoots to try and fix this thing, which is hence the delay. It probably will not work. And this is going to be another flop along the lines of Morbius and Madam Web. It's just, I'm sorry, but these side characters from Spider-Man, I actually think Morbius could succeed if you did him right, you know. But the Morbius movie just wasn't that good. It just wasn't. The villain isn't that interesting, and they rely way too much on CGI, and it's just not that good a movie. But I think a good Morbius movie could be made. But Madam Web, Craven, uh, these characters aren't going to succeed at the box office. You know, I think when Marvel Studios did like Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, I think it made people think that you can pretty much do any character and it'll succeed from the comics. And I do think there are a lot of underrated characters that could succeed if handled properly. But these Marvel villains, it ain't gonna work. I mean, what? Who next? The Gibbon, or Big Wheel? I mean, it's just it ain't gonna work, Sony. I'm sorry. You got Spider-Man, and that is about it. Okay, and speaking of Marvel characters that are obscure characters being done well and becoming hits. So this takes me to my next article here. And this is from Fandom Wire. So I don't know, you may have heard there's actually rumors that Wesley Snipes may be coming back. Maybe they don't feel I'm an ensemble player. Wesley Snipes' comments about Marvel Return give a new hope to Blade fans. As the world awaits Marvel's verdict on the upcoming phases 5 and 6 of its interconnected universe, a more urgent matter lies in the hands of Wesley Snipes, Mahershala Ali, and the common thread that binds the actors with the same fate, Blade. That's that binds the actors with the same. That's a bit melodramatic for a news article, isn't it? Marvel's goal to get back into the good graces of its. Now that may be actually AI generated because I've heard that that is one way to tell an AI generated article, like particularly Chat GPT, is that it will have very florid prose. It'll use a lot of very dramatic terms and stuff. So that sounds like it might be AI generated, actually. Marvel's goal to get back into the good graces of its fan base speaks to the quality of effort that the studio is applying to its projects. While the MCU still reels from its anxiety ridden phase 4 and gripes about the damage to its reputation, the studio manages to come up with the next best solution, the return of an old classic. The era of film noir is over, and yet the allure still remains. What? The era of film noir is over, and I mean, yeah, film noir kind of had its height in what, like the 40s, 50s. I don't know what this thing's even saying. This is sounding AI generated to me, honestly. With the tail ends of the 90s, Wesley Snipes became an ever mythic figure in the world of entertainment cinema. His reputation as Blade in the Marvel trilogy predates the established MCU and as such, the legacy of the reputed films, among which also lies a Guillermo del Toro directed classic, builds in the days preceding its reboot. Huh. Encouraging speculations about his return, Wesley Snipes claimed in an interview with Comic Book, quote, "Never say never. Long as I'm healthy and in shape, I can rock with them. Yeah, as far as my predictions on if something like that happened in the future, I don't know. It seems to me if it would have happened, it would have happened already, but hey, never say never." Although the actor is in no place to demand a place within the MCU, it is Marvel who would benefit from the veteran Daywalker's return in a significant cameo role besides the already groundbreaking performance that is expected from Mahershala Ali. How is his performance going to be groundbreaking, though? I don't understand that. Whatever. Well, the actor is still open to a call from Marvel. The metaphorical awkward silence that stretches into the night that stretches into the night clarifies his stance on the subject. It is clear that the actor did some major damage to his reputation in the Blade days with his extremely difficult behavior. It won't be ideal for Marvel and Kevin Feige to bring him back while the studio itself suffers from a blow to its stability. Commenting on the lack of a phone call from Kevin Feige, Snipes went on to joke, I'm still working on my acting skills, so when I come up as an actor, maybe they'll reach out and say, let's have a conversation, or maybe they don't feel I'm an ensemble player. In the recent past, rumors about Snipes' return to Marvel have taken the fan base by storm. Reports of his possible return in a multiversal capacity first rose in 2023. As the MCU reaches a year closer to its Phase 6 goals, reports of Wesley Snipes' potential return in a major cameo role have flooded the internet. While some sources claim he'll return in Deadpool and Wolverine, other sources say Snipes will have a more important role in Avengers Secret Wars. Yeah, bringing him back in Secret Wars, I think, would actually make some sense. Whether that will happen, I have no idea. Masters Maniacs Mexico says, come on, be creative, give us new stuff, not Blade 111 or anything like this. And to raise Snipes from the dead won't help with nothing. Well, I think, if they do this multiverse thing, which they're doing, and they do Secret Wars, I could see giving him, a cameo or something. I don't see any harm with that. But yeah, I wouldn't see them giving him like his own series or something like that. I wouldn't see that happening. Groundbreaking like a class 7 earthquake will leave nothing but debris. Um, I don't know. I think the Blade movie could be successful. I mean, I think it'd be a hit if they do it right, but they obviously it's like that Captain America movie. They're just basically I mean, how many times have you heard they're redoing that thing? I mean, how many different scripts have they been through? I mean, I don't think they have any clue what they're doing with it. It does sound like it's pretty much kind of a dumpster fire. Hmm. Okay. All right. Next one here. What am I on time? So 7:30. Okay. I probably won't go too late this evening. Okay, this next one is from Screen Rants. Michael Rosenbaum gives first update in 2 years on potential Smallville sequel. Smallville star Michael Rosenbaum finally gives a new DC update on the potential series revival of the Superman TV show. It has been nearly 15 years since the Smallville TV show finished its run on the CW as Tom Welling's Superman finally took it to the skies. However, in the current age of beloved TV series getting resurrected for reboots or revivals, many have always been wondering if Smallville could ever get to that point. And actually, I should mention, I think it was earlier this week that Superman and Lois show that they've like wrapped. They've like done their final episode. I don't know if it's aired yet, but they filmed it. So they're basically done filming for that show and it should be ending here soon. I watched the first season of that show and it was okay. I didn't really just keep up with it after that though. The CW just they were leaning so heavily into the wokeness. I couldn't I couldn't deal with it anymore. Although to be fair, Superman and Lois wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as like Legends of Tomorrow was. Okay, during an exclusive interview with Screen Rant, Smallville's Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in live action longer than anyone else, was asked about the animated sequel show that he and Welling were developing alongside the original show creators. Rosenbaum stressed that it is a, quote, great idea, but also something that needs to happen, quote, at the right time, sharing the following about Smallville's potential chances of coming back as an animated series. Michael Rosenbaum, all I could share is that it's a great idea. We have Al and Miles, the creators of Smallville, backing us up. When it's the right time, we'd like to go and do this. Pitch to Warner Brothers. It has to be the right time, and right now is not the right time. We had the strike. We had a change of executives at DC, one being one of my best friends in the world, James Gunn. When the time's right, I think it's something that's a no brainer unless they have other ideas. We'd like to do it. The whole cast would like to do it. They would voice their own character from the show, and we have a concept of what the show is. Okay, so they're talking about an animated. Yeah, here it is. I know you and Tom spoke a year or two ago about this. You guys were developing a Smallville animated series with the cast and creators. Okay, so an animated follow up. Yeah, that makes more sense because they couldn't get Welling to put the costume on in the first show. And now, all these years later, it's hard to believe he'd want to do it now. The idea of Smallville getting an animated sequel series could actually be far better than getting it in live action. With animated with animation, Smallville wouldn't have to worry about budget concerns as they could have more action and storylines included. It would also likely be a lot easier to get all the actors together to voice their characters than to figure out a schedule that would work if it were live action. Will they bring Chloe back? I wonder. That would be interesting. A hypothetical Smallville animated show could also lean into adapting the season 11 comic series, which is canon to the CW drama. Not only is there enough material to produce multiple episodes for a revival, but the writers could create their own stories after they have finished the season 11 arc. With Smallville's DC universe bigger than ever, thanks to the comic, an animated sequel could theoretically last for several seasons. Obviously, if Smallville was given a chance to return in live action format, that would be the biggest victory for the audience. But it is more likely that a Smallville animation show will get greenlit, which could also be a solid way to expand DC's animation library, especially in the new age of DC Studios. Hopefully, there will be a time in the near future when the Smallville actors get to return as their characters in one way or another. Hmm. So that does kind of fall in line. Masters Mexico says right place, right time means it will never happen. That's 1984 talk. Good as bad, war is peace, and so on and so on. That could be. I do think it's uh, probably kind of unlikely to happen, but I think it was just last week I did an article about how Marvel is looking at doing more animated stuff on streaming, I think. I don't know about movies, but more animated shows on streaming. And I think this is partly in light of the success that X-Men 97 is having, because I think it's been pretty well received and is doing well. And from a certain point, it does make sense. Animation is going to be a lot cheaper to do than doing live action superheroes. And you don't need to make as much money in order for it to be successful, and doing an animated Smallville show would certainly fall in line with that. So I don't think it's something. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's something that might happen. And I don't know if Warner Brothers continues to lose money the way they are, then they may get desperate enough to do that at some point. It wouldn't really surprise me. Okay. Um, all right, let me do this one. This is from Bounding into Comics. Captain America Brave New World toy leaks suggest Marvel film to avoid referring to Jewish superhero Sabra by her Hebrew code name. In the last supposed in the latest supposed deviation made by the Marvel Cinematic Universe away from its original source material, a leak of Captain America Brave New World merchandise has revealed that the film will apparently refer to Jewish superhero Sabra, not by her actual code name, but rather her regular given name, Ruth Bat Saraf. This potential name change for the fictional Israeli government agent introduced in 1968's The Incredible Hulk 250. Wow, has it been that long ago? I know the first time I saw Sabra, I remember, was in Contest of Champions. which I don't know if any of you are comic fans, but if you are, you may remember that Contest of Champions miniseries from the early 80s, which introduced a lot of kind of international characters. And I always thought Sabra was introduced there, but apparently no, she came, what, over a decade earlier. Sabra is a mutant member of the Mossad who possesses a number of superhuman abilities, including a superhuman physique, a regenerative healing factor, and the power to transform some of her own life energy to her injured allies. First raised to the public on April 18th, courtesy of a leak of the film's upcoming McDonald's Happy Meal toy line. Yeah, and I looked at this last week, actually, and I suspected, I think I said at the time, I bet that's who that was supposed to be. Per a Portuguese language image of the line's offerings published online by fast food, toy centric social media profile. Lord, this is Cole- Colecionavius. I'm butchering that. I'm just going to skip that. Well, the film's other costume characters are all referred to by their superhero names, including Captain America, Falcon, Red Hulk, Diamondback. Although her name is translated to rattlesnake in Portuguese. And even Sam Wilson's robotic companion Redwing, Sabra is referred to by her first name, Ruth. As of writing, no reason has been given by either Disney or Marvel as to why they chose to strip the heroine of her code name. Given that the word Sabra is also a Hebrew term used to refer to any Jewish individual born in Israel, an educated guess suggests that the decision was made in order to prevent the film from drawing the ire of pro Palestine activists, their calls to such actions as protests and boycotts having become even more hair trigger than ever following the onset of the currently ongoing Israeli Hamas war. Lending credence to this speculation is the fact that the House of Mouse has already run aground to the various discourses surrounding the conflict, with many having taken the studio's decisions to both include Sabra in the film and cast Israeli actress Shira Haas in the role as them tacitly indicating their support for Israel. Notably facing such accusations regarding Haas's casting even prior to the onset of the war, Disney issued a public statement via Variety informing their critics that, quote, while our characters and stories are inspired by the comics, they are always freshly imagined for the screen. Yeah, no kidding. And today's audience and the filmmakers are taking a new approach with the character Sabra, who was first introduced in the comics over 40 years ago. To this end, given that the film has already undergone a number of drastic plot changing reshoots, one wonders if Brave New World will make any reference to Ruth's Israeli heritage or associations or choose to err on the side of caution and instead portray her as nothing more than a generic superhuman ally of Sam's. That's something I hadn't thought about, that they might, in subsequent rewrites and reshoots, kind of minimize her Israeli background. I bet you they are doing that. I would probably. What I would guess is that and they say in here she's a mutant. I would bet you that that's something they'll probably change as well. My guess would be that they'll probably wind up turning her into like an Israeli super soldier type character. You know, she got some version of the super soldier formula, and that's why she's the way she is, not a mutant, I would bet. Okay. Okay. Okay, I got one more I'll do, and then I'm going to go ahead and call it an evening here. And again, this is from Bounding into Comics. Witchblade to be reimagined in new series from Batwoman and A-Force writer Marguerite Bennett. Reshoot will, quote, have a lot to say about power in the 21st century. Oh, boy. Translation, it's going to be woke AF. It'd be my guess. and proving that absolutely no IP is safe from being revived and subverted in an attempt to sell it to modern audiences. Top Cow has announced that their fan favorite supernatural cheesecake series, Witchblade, will soon be receiving a comic book reimagining courtesy of DC's Batwoman Volume 3 and Marvel's A Force Volume 1 writer Marguerite Bennett. Created in 1995 by veteran comic book creator and Top Cow founder Mark Silvestri, editor David Wool, the writing duo of Brian Haberlin and Christina Z, and the late artist Michael Turner, which Blade focuses on a sentient supernatural weapon of the same name, whose usage is meant to keep balance between the universal concepts of good and evil, known as the light and the darkness. The latter being the same entity which features in the eponymous The Darkness spin-off series. However, unable to operate on its own, the Witchblade must bond with a host, typically a woman, a hot woman, I would add, a very hot woman, in order to carry out its mission. In doing so, imbuing them with superhuman conditioning and a risque suit of symbiotic armor. Set to hit shelves in July, the reboot will see series co-creator and Top Cow founder Mark Silvestri work with Bennett and artist Boom Studios, Saban's Power Rangers Soul of the Dragon, and DC's Suicide Squad Volume 5 artist Giuseppe Cafaro team to offer readers, quote, contemporary takes on familiar characters and new story arcs that will hook new readers and rekindle the energy and excitement that fueled the 90s image revolution, unquote. Well, probably not, considering who's going to be writing it. Notably, rather than an original protagonist, the series will focus on a new version of the series' first protagonist, Sarah Pizzini, a New York PD detective who eventually turns to a life of protecting humanity from the supernatural after being picked to serve as the weapon's latest host. Quote, this is brand new mythology, and Sarah and I can't wait for you to fall in love with her and all the twists and turns, unquote. Silvestri exclaimed to Top Cow in promotion of the series. Discover Witchblade reimagined this summer and join us as we bring all the fun of the 90s to the modern age and see how exciting comics can be. I can't wait for you to read this new series, unquote. To this end, the official log line of the series debut issue teases, quote, in Witchblade number 1, New York City detective Sarah Pizzini's life was forever fractured by her father's murder. Cold, cunning, and hell-bent on revenge, Sarah now stalks a vicious criminal cabal beneath the city, where an ancient power collides and transforms her into something wild, magnificent, and beyond her darkest imaginings. How will Sarah use this ancient power, or will she be consumed by it? So this is like a total reboot, I guess. They're doing a complete reboot of it. Which, look, if you're just going to do 90s type stuff, then why not just keep it going? Why reimagine it? Obviously, they're going to reboot it and reimagine it to make it, for modern audiences. And if you're doing that, it's hard to see how it's going to capture the fun of the 90s. Um, look, the 90s are a mixed bag in terms of comics, I was never the biggest fan of like Image and a lot of that stuff, as I always found it to be more style than substance. But you know what? At least it was gorgeous art that was fun to look at. And at least it was, it wasn't offensive. Unlike all the crap now, which is offensive and the art is garbage for the most part. Masters Maniac Mexico says, oh, please, next thing you will see is Germans like me complaining about Goldfinger. Or Nazis and Indiana Jones, just keep the politics out. And also, I always enjoy your. Oh, come on now. Always enjoy your show. Always well analyzed and far away from ranting or praising. Just good entertainment journalism, sir. Very rare these days. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. I always appreciate it. Appreciate it when you show up, man. And you've been one of the few regulars I have who always stops by. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Who is that mystical modern audience? All I see are empty cinemas. Yeah. Um, uh, but I do think, I mean, there's a number of things that I go into the people not going to the cinema. I do think that the wokeness, the modern audience crap is part of it. But again, this is a comic book, so it's kind of a different thing. But again, it's audiences aren't showing up for that stuff either. I just did a video earlier this week about how there's this sales report that from 2022 to 2024, sales of DC Comics and graphic novels to bookstores, not to comic shops, mind you, but to bookstores like Barnes and Noble, that sort of thing, dropped 25%. I mean, that's huge. That's disastrous. And a lot of it is because they insist on doing this stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man. It just seems like it's never gonna get to them. They're gonna do this until they just destroy these companies, if they haven't already. Some of them are probably already destroyed. They just don't know it yet. The full financial ramifications are just now really starting to hit home. Alrighty. Well, I'm at 50 minutes, so I will go ahead and wrap it up there. Again, thanks to all the folks who showed up during the stream and those who will watch on a replay. Please do like the stream and sub to the channel, and maybe check out some of my other videos while you're here. I will stream again Tuesday. I'll do another Trek talk. I'll be looking at uh, Charlie X, the Star Trek original series episode Charlie X, for that live stream, and hopefully have some more stuff coming here after that later in the week. Till then, I'll see you then, and have a good evening, folks.